Just to say again, the Electoral Commission has been very supportive of this initiative, so we hope that continue to grow, especially in non-electoral years, which is the most challenge that we find. Now we're going to welcome Trevor Desmond from Cork City Council to give a few words. Thank you.
Thanks, Liliana. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Trevor Desmond. I'm working in Cork City Council franchise team, or the Register of Electors team. So firstly, just a quick thank you to Liliana and the NVRD and See Her Elected teams for hosting the launch today and for all the work that you've been organising it. So well done to you. I just want to say a few words on why Cork City Council is fully behind the NVRD initiative and why we think that all local authorities really should support it into the future. So first of all, just basic democracy, and from a democratic point of view, local government really is the first level of government that people are going to encounter, that citizens will engage with really like in their normal life maybe, and especially voting at the age of 18 or now even registering it younger than that. So we need people to vote these councillors in. So it's basic, I suppose, logic like that. It's very important for local authorities to encourage registration so that our local government can function properly, basically, so that we have our elected members supported by the organisation, basically. And the organisation's job, as well as the elected members, is to promote voting, and for registration is important for that. So that's one of the main reasons why we'll be supporting NVRD into the future, is so that it will reach everybody. Local authorities are now very much community focused, and community participation is vital for local authorities nowadays. So local authorities, it's their responsibility, it's our responsibility to ensure that every person in the community feels represented, or feels at least that they have the opportunity to be represented. Registering to vote is the first step in giving people the voting franchise that they are entitled to. So again, the NVRD, this will help us tomorrow to reach some of these communities, and just to let maybe especially people who aren't Irish citizens know exactly what their entitlements are to vote. So we have a community section at the moment who are helping the franchise section this week. We've already seen an uptick in our registrations this week as they went out to their community groups this week and to other groups, just to highlight the fact that we want them to register, basically. So the other side of that is that local authorities have signed up for the SDG goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. Part of that is reduce inequality. And as part of reducing inequality, public participation is necessary. And really, the NVRD is just another tool that we have in our box to reach everybody that we can, especially in community groups who may not be aware of their voting rights. So I suppose the franchise that we speak about is actually your right to vote. Many people mightn't know that. We describe it as the franchise section inside, but when people talk to us, they go, what is franchise? And basically, it is your right to vote. And the franchise has been extended actually in local government to everybody, to every resident in the local government. So basically, if you're from another country, if you're not a European citizen, you can vote in local elections in Ireland. So it is important to reach everybody at this point, to let them know that no matter who they are, they have a vote in Ireland, and the NVRD will let us to support people, actually, you know what I mean, and give them the information on the day that basically that we want everybody's vote on the day, especially for local elections. Now, the other thing for local elections is that our local elections are normally, we'll say, at the very end of May or the beginning of June. So the 30th of April is a perfect time for us every 5 years, because the next time will be 2029. We'll probably have our local and European elections around the end of May or beginning of June, and this will be a perfect reminder again, just around that time, to get people to register to vote in time. And the voting normally closes about 2 weeks or maybe 16 days beforehand or so, but we will have time. You will have about 2 weeks time anyway, like, to get your registration in before that. So that's just one other important thing to know about that, actually, just about where franchise comes from, and that it is extended to everybody for local government. And this franchise and this registering it will unlock the key to all the other votes that you can do in Ireland, basically. So if you're a citizen of Ireland, Once you register to vote once for local elections or for whichever, you are then registered to vote for general elections, European election, the referenda, and presidential election. So it's slightly different if you're not an Irish citizen or if you're a European citizen, but at least we now have the NVRD every year where we can push it and we can give the information to people to let them know exactly when they can vote and to encourage them to change their vote and update their voting if they become Irish citizens. Do you know what I mean? So they can avail of all of the votes in Ireland, basically, that and every franchise that's available to in Ireland. So that's just where that comes from. Just a small bit about the practical point of view. I suppose I noticed Kieran there from said a few things actually about to check to register, and that we do have a singular online registration system coming in basically for everyone by September. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll all have it, and this just makes things a lot easier where we can point people to this basically to register for the first time, and that we can actually highlight it as something maybe like revenue.ie or whatever it is like that, that people can just maybe make a habit of going to every year to check their voting status and to make sure that they are registered in the correct place at the correct address for the upcoming election. And again, this year we don't have an election, and that's why the NVRD is very important as well, just so that we have every year something to talk about, basically. Like, and this year it's talking about the TDs, I suppose, as well, as you know what I mean, and your local representatives. It's vital that you are aware of your local representatives, and that you're aware of that you're the people who vote them in. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we want to try and get across. Now, the local authorities are kind of the guardians of franchise, I suppose, and of the register of electors. So we have a huge responsibility to encourage people to register to vote. So this is great. We're delighted with the NVRD because this is really another support for us. You know, one of our things really, we create and we maintain the register. So it's important that we really make sure that we produce a proper register. And we're very keen to get the accuracy correct always for registers. And I suppose, especially since the new Electoral Reform Act in 2022, there's been a lot more meetings between local authority franchise teams. There's a lot more communication with them. And I can tell you that every local authority franchise team is dedicated to getting as many people registered and to having the most accurate register that they can. And this is very important, really, like just from a national outlook for elections, that we can have a proper voter turnout, that we have an electorate that's confident in our locals, in our voting systems and in our registration systems. And so that after these elections, when they come back, that we can be transparent and we can show that we did everything we could, do you know what I mean, to contact everybody, to try and get everybody on board with registering to vote and to voting. So the NVRD is a great help to local authorities, and that's why we really should be supporting it. And I suppose just on that note, I suppose just to say finally, wherever my notes have actually fallen on the ground there, but anyway, this is our day. Do you know what I mean? And we haven't had a day like this ever before. So this is, if other than local elections or elections, we can make this one day in the year which we can concentrate on registering to vote. So this is a great thing for local authorities. It's a great thing for franchise and community sections in local authorities. We can go out. We have a specific day with the help of the NVRD and basically to go out and to reach these people. And basically, you know, we want all the help and encouragement, I suppose, that we can get. And we have it at local level, we get it from a national level now, and just to have this National Voting Registration Day, it's a great help, really. So I'd be asking all local authorities in the future to support it, maybe by doing something like what we are doing at the moment. So we've supported it the last 3 years, and we're very much behind it. And hopefully now we'll be able to support this long into the future, because look, the register of electors is ever changing, ever expanding. So you can't just do it once. This has to be done every year and encouraged every year and supported every year. So this year, some of the things that we're doing, and we're lucky in Cork City Council because we have a number of libraries that we can use. So we have the City Centre Library this year. We're going to have a voting stand in the City Centre Library this year, and we're going to have one in our Holly Hill Library as well on the north side of the city, and we're going to have one in the civic offices of City Hall in our main building on Anglesey Street as well tomorrow. All of those will be from 11:30 to 3:30 tomorrow. And as well as that, we've contacted our councillors just to let them know about this meeting, let them know what we're doing. And I suppose we've also contacted our community groups, business groups as well, just to let them know every year that we're doing this basically, and to ask anyone any new employees or any new community groups, anybody new in the country, to register to vote. You know, the first thing to do is register to vote, and after that we can help you out if you need to change those and update any of those to voting nationally or European or whichever. So the main thing is to come to us and we'll register to vote, and with the help of the NVRD, we'll be able to support this in the future. So thanks very much to the NVRD, and thank you for giving me the chance just to kind of speak today on behalf of Cork City Council and on behalf of some of the local authorities who I can say are doing huge work really, like in cleansing and we want people to register. So tomorrow is a great day for us, so we'll be fully behind it. And thanks again to Liliana and the crew for doing this. And hopefully we'll see success, more success over the years, and more success tomorrow when we do it. So thank you all very much for that, and thank you, Liliana.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Now, I heard that the Senator Laura Harmon, she has to go. So I'm going to introduce Leon, who is the founder of Black and Irish, who is going to introduce all of the speakers. But before that, I'll leave it with Leon to deal with that. Thank you. Sorry. And thank you, Trevor. Great, wonderful.
Super. Thanks, Liliana, and thanks, Kieran and Trevor, for your contributions. Trevor, you've definitely riled me up for tomorrow now. I'm really, really excited for the day. And, you know, this year's theme was all about, you know, engaging our representatives, and we're absolutely thrilled to have different public representatives at different levels joining us today for a bit of a conversation on how we can best engage with them. So we have Deputy Cathy Bennett here from Sinn Féin. We, I believe, had Senator Laura Harmon from the Labour Party. However, I think she may have needed to drop for...
I'm here, yeah.
Fantastic, Laura. That's brilliant. It's great to see it. So we have Councillor Cal O'Driscoll from the Social Democrats, and we have Councillor Felgen Jose as well from the Green Party. So we're going to have a bit of a conversation about how best to engage them and what engagement looks like for them. And then we'll wrap up with a little bit of Q&A at the end if we have time. So look, my first question to each of the representatives is, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what your current political role is? So we might start with Councillor Felgen Jose on that, and then we'll move to Cathy, Kat and Laura.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for a second? Senator Laura, unfortunately, she has to join a committee meeting, so I'll let her start if that's okay. Sorry.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Laura, if you want to start that, and then I'll just ask your question, and then if you need to drop, we can do that.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for that. Sorry, I have to leave. I'm just going into an Oireachtas committee here. So my name is Laura Harmon. I'm a senator with the Labour Party, and I just want to say, first of all, just congratulations to Leon and Liliana and Brian and everybody involved in this and all the councils across the country, because it's so important to get people to register to vote, to raise awareness of it. It's a real kind of pet project of mine as well over the years. I just love voter registration. I just think it's incredibly important, and it's great that there's been improvement made to the system in recent years. But I think we really need to have this National Day as a flagship point of national awareness, particularly around I think people that don't realise that they can register for local elections as well, raising the awareness around that in terms of like that you don't have to be a citizen to register to vote. I think that that's really important, certainly in terms of people that I encounter as part of my role in politics, is people don't realise that they can vote and that they have the right and that they can register. Sometimes people don't realise they actually have to actively register, and that it's something that you have to opt into. So the pre-registration element as well is fantastic, that you can register before you're 18 now as well. So I suppose I just wanted to say congratulations, and it's great to hear from the councils, and certainly from Trevor there in Cork. I know all the work that they do in terms of maintaining that register and making sure it's up to date. It's a huge amount of work, and I think it's really important that our councils are fully resourced, to do that as well. But just before I finish, and thanks so much for accommodating me to be able to speak. I was involved in student politics back in the day, as Councillor Catter Driscoll was as well, and I'm sure others here as well. But voting can change the country, not just about electing representatives, but it has changed this country in terms of policy, in terms of referendums. We've seen some elected reps getting elected by just one vote, for example. We saw the influence of the youth vote on, say, marriage equality, the reproductive rights repeal referendum as well. The divorce referendum in the 90s passed by, I think it was about 30,000 votes, which was the size of, say, your average college in the country. So every vote does matter. I think that's an important message I suppose we need to be getting out this week and on National Voter Registration Day. So I just want to say thanks again. I look forward to sharing all of the information online, but it's such a brilliant initiative, and congratulations to everybody who is involved in organising it.
Super. Thanks so much, Laura. Do you have time for one more quick question, or do you need to drop? No? Okay. So I don't know if Laura can hear me. I think the line may have dropped, but we'll continue anyways. Felgen, if you could introduce us to yourself and your political role, that'd be great, and then we'll move on to Kathy and Kat then.
Thanks, Leon. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so my name is Felgen Jose. I'm a councillor for the Cabra Glasnevin area in Dublin City Council for the Greens. So I come from a mixed background. I started off doing physics and then was doing a PhD, and then just kind of got involved in politics, and then I left that and ended up in politics, and I worked in comms for a bit. So yeah, not from a politics background at all. Suppose my day to day is very different. It's every day is something different. I don't have any staff or any resources or anything like that, so it is just me. So when I'm engaging with my constituents, it is me directly engaging with my constituents, and it's me going all around the constituency, meeting people in their homes, in cafes, in parks, and dealing with their issues on a one-to-one level, or calling them on a one-to-one level. So I suppose it's kind of different to TDs in some ways, in that it is everything you do is very personal. So yeah, I would deal with people's kind of local issues a lot when it comes to local services, when it comes to things like parks and libraries and roads and drainage and all these kind of things, housing. But aside from that, as a city councillor, you're responsible for the overall management of the city and the future of the city. So I would have been elected on a platform of what my vision for Dublin looks like and what I want Dublin to be in 5-10 years. So I would have long-term projects aside from local issues, things like investment in local facilities, but also investment in facilities across the city, and the management of the city into the future that I would focus a lot of my time on. Aside from that, I'm also a spokesperson for the party. I'm the spokesperson for transport, so I would do a lot of work on, advocating for stuff at a national level, like rail, public transport, walking and cycling, sustainable transport in general, especially things like Metrolink and Lewis lines and all these kind of things. So I would do a lot of that stuff in parallel to my councillor role, and
Super.
together with my councillor role. So it's yeah, every day is different, and it's a real mix of loads of different things from local to national.
Super. Thank you so much, Councillor. So we'll move over to Deputy Bennett now. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your role.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd just like to thank everybody for organising today. It is a very important day to ensure that we have people on the register. I've been getting a lot of calls lately that people have been receiving letters in relation to the cleansing of the registers as being duplicate and multiple names, not at the correct addresses and that. So it is very important. But a lot of people are actually afraid that they've been taken off the register. So I have been encouraging people to check the register.ie and add their PPS, add their R code, and make sure that they have the correct address. So it is good to get the register, to ensure that we have the register cleaned and that, it is actually relevant and it reflects the people that are living, that's living in every house in the country. So just in relation to myself.
Sorry, Deputy, could you check your volume for a second? Someone is saying it's quite low. They can't
Yeah,
hear.
I think we can hear you, but it is a bit low. If it's possible to turn it up at all.
Let me see.
That's much better.
I'm usually not accused of being low. I'm usually too loud. Does it sound
Super.
okay now, Leon?
That's perfect. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I suppose, what can I say? Yeah, so my name's Kathy Bennett. I'm a Sinn Féin TD for the Cavan Monaghan constituency. I was elected just in December 2024 as a TD. Before that, I was a councillor for 12 years. I ran in 3 local elections in my own constituency as a councillor, and now then 1 year ago, over 1 year ago now, I suppose nearly a year and a half, I ran as a TD and I got elected for the first time as a TD. I enjoy the work. It's very good. It's very varied, and every day brings a different line of work. As a TD here, I suppose beforehand I was a councillor. I also managed a theatre and I had a degree in biopharmaceutical science, so I had a very varied life before becoming a TD. I'm married with 3 children, so they're all teenagers now or coming into their 20s, so I'm lucky it's just happened at the right time. I don't know if I would have been able to manage it when the kids were younger. So I'm lucky that they're all teenagers. I'm actually sometimes quite delighted to be leaving home for 3 days every week. I leave home every Tuesday and I stay in Dublin Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So it's, I suppose, the role as a TD is a completely different one to what a councillor was. It's more a lot of committees. We still have a lot of reps and that to do in relation to, people would ask us to make reps, in relation to, I suppose, medical cards, Susie, in relation to housing, in relation to roads, all the kind of council areas. But on top of that, then we do a lot of, I suppose, legislation. We vote legislation through the Dáil here. I'm also sit on the PAC, which is the Public Accounts Committee, where I hold government spending to scrutiny. I am also on the Foreign Affairs Committee. So on top of that, then I do that Tuesday to Thursday, and then constituency work then on a Monday and Friday in my office at home. On top of clinics, I'm also the spokesperson for tourism and the diaspora. So it's been quite a busy role since I got there. I suppose a lot of people would say, what are the hours of work? And it is long and it is varied. We start on a Tuesday, usually about 2 o'clock, but it could go on till 10, 11 o'clock at night with votes, and the same on a Wednesday and Thursday again. So it's quite long days as a TD, but I am enjoying it. It's great. The days actually do go very fast and it flies. Enjoying the role, and I'm just trying to think. But in relation to the registrations, again, I'm very grateful to see that they are being updated, and it's great to see that this National Voting Registration Day is happening, because I feel a lot of people are only getting, maybe around 50% of people are going out to vote, and it's not enough. We need to have more people going out to vote. But one area that I would ask, that would be highlighted, if not now, if later, to ensure people are educated in how to vote. I have always been at the count centres whenever the votes are coming in, and it's very disheartening sometimes to see 111 beside everybody's name, or I've just seen very, very, very different ways of voting. People think putting an X beside it, and an X, it's not going to work. So I think we have to re-educate people to say that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in line. to ensure that people know that's how we put our vote here in Ireland. It's the PRS-TV, and every vote, as people have said there earlier on, every vote does count, because if you put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right down the voting card, every single one of those votes are going to be counted in the count centre. So it's just to make people aware of that, and to thank people for going out to vote. It's very, very important that you have elected representatives in this country. So it's just again to say thank you for having me here today, and just again thank you for everybody that's been organising the National Voter Registration Day. I think it's very, very important, and very important for people to highlight to people. But one more past remark I would like to say is that when a person has a PPS number, I do believe they should automatically have a vote, and that's not happening at the moment, but I think it's something that should happen. When you have a PPS number, you should automatically get your vote registered. Wherever you're paying your taxes, that's where you should get your vote correlating to. So it's just something that if it's not being pushed with this national launch, it's something that I would like to pursue here in the Dáil. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for that insight, Deputy. We'll now move over to Councillor O'Driscoll, just to tell us a bit about yourself and your work.
Yeah, thanks, Leon. So as Laura Harmon referenced, we came up in the student movement together, and we actually used to do annual voter registration days, but it was in the autumn because the register used to close annually. So once the change happened, we lost that kind of annual focus. So it's really brilliant that it's coming back, and then it's in the springtime where it's a bit more, people are a bit more interested. They're not trying to grapple with their, university timetable to get understanding. So I was politicised in student movement. I was elected to the UCC Students' Union, the National Students' Union, which is now called AMLE, and I'm the last Irish person to have held a position in the European Students' Union. I'm still trying to get more people to get involved in that. So I got great experience of politicians at local, national and European levels as a lobbyist. I was there meeting them about student issues and trying to talk to them. I never pictured myself in their seat. I just always saw myself as somebody who would be asking for things, not one making decisions. Then when the Social Democrats formed, I signed up because it was the first party that spoke to me and my values. And I guess my skills and expertise maybe were recognised, and I was co-opted onto the council after the 2020 general election. And I think a lot of people don't know about how that co-option process works. So it's the party that chooses who that is. So there are people get into politics without running for election. So there's a lot of people who've been co-opted. You'll see them on ballots. They have experience in the role, but it's their first time running. And that's quite an interesting perspective. So when I ran in 2024, I had 4 years on the council, loads of experience, but it was the first time my face went on a poll. And so I think that's a really interesting thing for people to learn about that you can do. And as a councillor, there's kind of set patterns to the month. The first Monday of the month in Dublin City is the council meeting, where we'll talk about citywide things. There's a lot of statutory things that can be quite boring, but it's really important that we look at those. And then there's the local meetings. So there's 5 areas in Dublin. I chair the Central Area Committee at the moment. That's where we'll talk about much more local things that sometimes end up on the council agenda. At our most recent meeting, we had a report from the dereliction unit within the council. So we got to ask lots of questions about dereliction in the city, and what we can do to bring a lot more spaces back into the use as homes. And we will have lots of presentations from different things. Previously, we had one on the DART. And then every council has committees that councillors kind of get to choose that they can get onto, which are more different policy focus. So I'm on the Community, Culture, Arts, Gaeilge Sports Committee. So it's got the longest title, but I have a big interest in culture for a long time. So that's where we get to have more of a discussion, kind of topic by topic, rather than a geographic decisions. And we get to hear from great people. There's people from the public participation networks and external experts on those committees as well. And we get to do great things there. And I suppose when people are getting in touch with me, I have to think, where's the place I bring this query or what's going on? So we get the opportunity to submit motions and questions. I'll use that a lot of the time when someone's seeking information, or they're looking for a change to happen. But if it's something like a personal issue, I might just directly contact a manager. And there's an issue there because we're part-time. We don't have resources like admin staff or anybody to do anything for us. when we get quite a lot of reps, and we're getting a lot of housing reps at the moment to do with renting because of the recent changes. It's really hard to stay on top of finding out how that's happening. And so there's a lot of work involved with there. But I would always say to people, get in touch with your councillors, no matter what the issue is. If we're not able to deal with it, we can pass it on, or we can guide you where to go for particular issues. And then the other thing is councillors sit on outside bodies. So there's lots of different seats that we have to fill on bodies like the Education and Training Board, the HSE forums, lots of different committees and structures that relate to your local city or county, and the councillors have seats on. So I sit on the Education Training Board in Dublin City, and that means I'm on 2 school boards as well. And because I have that background in education, I'm able to bring that. Somebody asked me recently at an ETB event, what qualifies you to be a politician? What do you need to study to be a politician? And I was like, there is no roadmap. Every politician brings their background, their values, their experience, and that's what makes politics work. What I want to see is more diversity within the rooms that the decisions are being made in. People from backgrounds that we don't see, people with experiences we don't see. The decisions we make will actually work better for the whole community. So anybody who's interested, there's really great programs, including See Her Elected, that will help you. And now's a great time to think about how you might run for election. And if you've any interest in a party, just contact your local branch and have a chat. You don't have to sign up straight away. You can get involved that way as well.
Super. Thanks so much, Councillor. Just in the interest of time, we'll keep this moving quickly. So next question to all three. I'll ask 2 more questions to all three, and then I'll introduce some of the questions in the chat. So maybe taking it in reverse then, what has been the impact of social media on your task of effectively engaging with the public? So we'll start with yourself, Councillor O'Driscoll, then we'll move to Deputy Bennett, and then to
so there's been a bit of a change recently. So last October, the main social media platforms have banned political advertising. So it means we can't boost posts and things like that. So I would have said maybe this time last year, I would have talked about the ability for me to actually put a video together where I'm talking and explaining something, and I can boost that out. But it's been stripped back a bit. But I think it is a great way to meet with the people. We're out canvassing for the by-election at the moment. There's a lot of people living in apartments that we can't get into, or they're not home when we knock on their door. So you'd hope that you can get access through social media. And I also think a letter or something written, it has a very different tone to when you're explaining it in a video or audio format. So I think it allows us to have our personalities there as well. But also as a woman in politics, it brings a lot of danger and it brings a lot of issues. And we do get the most abuse on social media as opposed to in person or when we're knocking on doors. It comes through social media the most. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Over to Deputy Bennett then.
Yeah, I think social media plays a vital part now, especially in my local constituency, where our local paper now, we don't have a local newspaper. So that's where everybody is getting their news now, is on social media. But I do think there's still a target audience, that you need to still make sure that you're heard on radio, that you do send articles to other papers and that. But the myths of papers and newspapers are actually nearly going out of fashion at this stage. Social media plays a huge impact, and everybody picks up the phone and everybody has access to it. But as Kat did say, without the advertising now, I feel like I have to actually do more media to keep on top of it, because the media, when you used to be able to pay, it was a lot easier to get your posts out there. But it's busy, it takes a lot of time and effort as well to get it right across all the platforms, like I am on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and I just started Blue Sky. It's very, very hard to keep on top of it, all the time, to keep on top of all the media. And the other thing, as Kat had mentioned, the harassment that you can get. But I've actually discovered that if you just delete and block these haters that are on, they're gone. They can't actually say anything to you again. So it's actually been a very good way for me to ensure that the haters are gone. And I would advise people, if you are getting a lot of negative commentary, delete that person. They're gone. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to take it. And as well as that, there's a really good option there as well. Delete this person and any further accounts that they create. So it's actually wiped out a lot of that for me, and it's been very, very good. But social media, it's the only way we can get our message across now at the moment. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. And then over to yourself, Councillor Jose.
Yeah, you name it, I'm on that platform. So every single one, pretty much every day, if not every week. I find it to be really, really good. It's something that I've had a really good presence on social media ever since I started out. Different social media platforms for different types of audiences. I found TikTok and Instagram to be really good for engaging with young people. And like I would see, or I, run into people while canvassing or out and about, and they would say, "I saw you on TikTok," or "I saw you on Instagram," and that's really, really like when you're getting across to people. But at the same time, I'd be active on LinkedIn, and people in the public service, people in kind of other companies, especially older people, would say, "Yes, I saw your post on LinkedIn. I thought that was really interesting." So different platforms for different people, and it's like you can tell that it's working when people do actually kind of tell you that they saw something that you did, and they really liked it, they really found it interesting. Or I would do local updates on social media, on some platforms, but I wouldn't be putting local updates on LinkedIn. So yeah, you got to tailor it, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you're very much relying on organic, kind of, yeah, very much an organic audience as opposed to boosting or anything like that. So you got to
Yeah.
work hard for it. I don't think it's made me refocus. I've always been kind of very engaged on social media when it comes to how I engage with people. So that's not to say I don't do any leaflets or I don't do any canvassing or I don't do anything like I did a lot of social media during my election campaign, but I also knocked on over 10,000 doors over 8, 9 months. So they all have a part to play. Like I would talk to people individually, one on one. I would call people. I prefer to call people and meet up for a coffee and have a chat as opposed to over email or over Facebook comments or anything like that. So I would very much try and engage people directly. I would do newsletters and leaflets and all this kind of stuff. Local media, it's not really a thing in Dublin, unfortunately. So we don't really have a lot of local papers. We have one or two, and that's maybe read across Dublin by a few thousand people. So it's not, we don't have the same kind of local media presence. So you're very much relying on social media or national media.
Right. Super. Thanks so much for that insight. Last question from me then, and it's basically we've seen lower turnout in recent years. What are the immediate steps that I suppose we as a country can take to ensure greater political participation among underrepresented communities? So we might start with Deputy Bennett this time, and then uh, we'll do. I don't know. We'll do a toss up between the councillors. So sorry, Deputy Bennett, if you could take that one first.
Thank you very much, Leon. I suppose, as I did say earlier, I think it would be very important that people are registered automatically once they have a PPS number and pay a tax. That's one. I think it could help if elections happened over the weekend when students are home from college. Presently, it usually happens on a Thursday or Friday. Another issue I'd like to raise, Sinn Féin, my party, we're an All-Ireland party, and we believe in the North people have a proxy vote, so if they're not at home at a certain time, they can vote by proxy. That doesn't happen here, so I think it's something that we need to change and something that people should be allowed to do, is to be able to vote if they're not able to make it home on a certain day, that they can cast their vote. But also, I suppose, lowering the voting age. We would like to see the voting age lowered to 16 to start people early off in the process of voting, that they would continue to vote for the rest of their lives. And as I had said before, in relation to the spoilt votes that are accidental now, the ones that are accidental, to ensure people are getting educated on how to vote, I think that would be very important as well, Leon. So I think if we had all those things ducks in a line, I think we would have a better turnout and a better head count for whenever the votes come in. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. So I'll go to Councillor Jose first, and then Councillor O'Driscoll will give you the last word. So over to you, Councillor Jose.
So there's a lot of different individual or different groups of people who are very underrepresented when it comes to voting. So you've got young people, and I completely agree with Kathy there. We have to reduce the voting age. 18 is a very, very tumultuous time in a person's life. You're doing your leaving cert, you're starting college, you're trying to find accommodation, you're moving from one part of the country to another. Not a great time to get someone to register to vote. And if they don't get registered when they're 18, they forget, they don't do it next year, they don't do it next year. It's 20, you're 3 years into your adult life, you've never voted, you're probably not going to vote again. But if you're 16 and you start voting at 16, you're at home, very stable life, hopefully, and you get into the habit of voting, you get into you get in, it just becomes a part of your life, and you learn, and it's something that you do every day, or sorry, every day, every election. Hopefully form that habit at an earlier stage and get people involved at an earlier stage. And around the world, we've seen that does mean they keep voting later into their lives and throughout their lives. You've got people from migrant backgrounds who don't know they can vote. I had QR codes on my leaflets where I would, get every single day I would run into people who said, "Oh, I'm not a citizen, I can't vote." For a council election, you can. And I reckon I got low couple of hundreds people registered to vote. Now, whether they voted for me, I don't know, I don't care. But they were registered. But you would also run into people like even British citizens who didn't know they could vote in the general election. Like I'm out canvassing every day now for the sorry, someone said there's no election. We have an election. It's all systems go in Dublin Central. I'm out every single day knocking on doors, and like you run into people who don't know they can vote. You run into people who are registered in another county. They're registered back home. They live in Dublin. They've been living in Dublin for 4 or 5 years. They never moved, and in a lot of those cases, they don't go home to vote. They often forget the day comes and it's too busy. You're not going to make it back to Mayo. We've successfully kind of gotten a lot of those people to move their vote to Dublin Central, especially with the online system, and they're happy to vote where they live and where they, participate. So there's a lot of different cohorts of people there, and I think it's really important that you target them all individually, because there's a lot of people. Okay, people might say it's fine that they're registered in another county. I won't pick any out. I probably shouldn't have picked Mayo. It's fine, but what happens in a lot of those cases is they don't vote. They don't go home to vote. It's too difficult to go home to vote. And I think it's really important that we get people registered to vote where they live.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And then over to you, Councillor Driscoll.
Yeah, I think maybe just to reflect back on the old system, it used to be way harder to register to vote. We used to do on-campus registrations. You had to find a guard who was going to witness every form. You had to print the forms. GDPR nightmare. So we have made a significant step forward with the online system. So that's there. And I think, and I agree with the other panelists about the need to expand the franchise, making voting available younger and everything else. But if we look at the current system we have, how do we get more people engaged in it? And I think part of it is people are really busy, and the last thing they're going to think about is my voting up to date? But what are the other things we do in our lives that they come at you and you pretty much have to do it? Whether it's your rent coming, maybe it's a letter from the RTB, maybe it's a letter from the HSE, revenue, social protection, your car tax. How do we not have a piece at the end of all state letters about voting register with a QR link? Like we're all residents of this country, citizenship or not. As a residence company, you're getting some communication from state bodies. Why can't we have, and there's a new rule now for politicians, everything that we publish, we have to have a transparency link at the bottom, whether it's a poster, a leaflet or something online. So why can't we have that version, but it's for state services? Or maybe every unpost letter gets a stamp on it with the QR to register. Because genuinely people are busy. And I think the second thing is the people not knowing they can vote. There's nothing more heartbreaking than being a canvasser, having a brilliant conversation with someone on the last week of a campaign, and then you go, and are your voting details up to date? And they go, oh no, I'm registered down in Kerry. Or otherwise or someone who says, I can't vote. And you're going, no, you can.
Yeah.
So so political parties are already doing a lot of voter registration, but I'd love the state actors, and I think the commission is a really good link and ground foundation for everybody to do. But I think everybody else who's putting anything in people's letterboxes could be a part of it. And I think also the availability of what Deputy Bennett was saying on the how to vote education things. There was great videos recently for recent elections and referendums on the Commission's website. So I think we have the actual content, by getting it out to the schools, to the workplaces, maybe through trade unions, using the networks that are there. I think there's lots of opportunities. A lot of people are doing a lot already. I just think there's more can be done.
Super. Thank you so much. We'll close it there. I want to say a huge thank you to our panelists, Councillor Carol Driscoll, Deputy Cathy Bennett, and Councillor Felgen Jose. Thank you so much. What we'll do is we'll circulate details. I think each of the panelists have shown that they're super approachable. So if anyone does have a follow-up when we're circulating this, we'll circulate details on how to contact them as well. So thanks so much, and Liliana, back over to you.
Thank you all for your time. I know everyone has to leave within a minute. And thank you for joining us today. If you would like to take part in this year's campaign, it's tomorrow. Please visit our social media to see where the different registration drives are taking place, and consider joining our mailing list, because we're going to be reaching out towards the end of this year for next year's campaign. So thank you for your time, for all of the speakers, Electoral Commission, Trevor from Cork City Council, all of the team in National Voter Registration Day, and most especially people on the ground doing this work for everyone. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a lovely day, and happy National Voter Registration Day tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.